You are listening to the Bookish Wafflers podcast, and that will remain the name until I come up with a better one. And I am your host, Troy-Nicole. I hope you enjoy the first episode of this podcast series. So sit back, relax, and have a listen. Hey y'all, it's Troy-Nicole, and today I am bringing back Cole's Chat Corner. If you don't know what that is, that was a bi-weekly, sometimes monthly video where I talked about all things books. I talked about non-bookish related stuff, and it was not in podcast form. But I figured if I wanted to bring this back, the best way to bring it back was in podcast form. And what better way to do it than on Thanksgiving, as I am drinking Pennsylvania Dutch. But I hope you guys are having a good holiday, whether you celebrate it or not. I just hope you're having a good day, and we're going to get into today's topic. So before I introduce today's topic, which you've already seen because you clicked on this video, I'm going to just say this is kind of like a dry run of me trying this out, of me seeing how this goes before I really delve fully into the whole Cole's Chat Corner podcast version, I guess. On the plus side, the greatest part about podcasts is if you don't see me, I don't have to get pretty. No makeup, probably just in, some booty shorts and a really big tee, and we're just chilling. And what better way to chill than with a little bit of alcohol and just sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying some content. One of my favorite things about podcasts is you don't have to really sit down and watch. You can be cleaning, you can be doing whatever you want. You could be, I was going to say studying. Don't study and listen to this because you are not going to pay attention to both of them things. You are going to half-ass something. Whole ass one things. Ron Swanson. But nevertheless, let's get into today's topic. And today's topic is kind of a fun topic to me, and it is the idea of hate reading. Now, I see people talk about hate reading all the time, and if you don't know, hate reading is basically you specifically reading a work specifically because you know you're going to hate it, and then you can kind of just like rip it apart on Goodreads, on YouTube, no matter what your choice of platform is. You kind of rip it to shreds, and there's this idea that you shouldn't hate read, or that you aren't really a reader, I guess, if you hate read, or not even that. Maybe it's the fact that people feel like you should be enjoying reading and not hating reading. You know what I mean? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into that and how I feel about hate reading, and I want to hear your thoughts. Obviously this isn't live, but whatever your thoughts are about this, I want you to leave them below. Tell me what you think about hate reading. And also at the end of this podcast, if you make it to the end, even if you make it only through 5 minutes of it or a minute of it, tell me if you enjoy these. But anyway, let's get back to hate reading, because hate reading, it seems like something that is very new, but in fact, hate reading is pretty old. From the beginning of time, not time, but, beginning of written literature, people will hate read things, okay? Hate reading, to give you a great example, is like, for instance, I'm not big on sci-fi. Me hate reading would be me deciding that I'm going to read a sci-fi novel, knowing I'm going to hate it, knowing it sounds like nothing I would enjoy, and then picking it apart. But I don't like sci-fi. Or, okay, I like sci-fi movies, but I don't tend to read too much sci-fi. But if I know I hate it, why would I read it? That is the question many pose about hate reading. And it's a valid question. Like, why read something you hate? However, some people thoroughly enjoy hate reading things just to then talk shit about it. Now, I am not someone who thinks that I should be able to dictate or gatekeep what a reader should and should not do, okay? Like, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that's really terrible as far as reading goes is purposely ripping apart a book and then adding the author in it. I will never understand that. If authors want to read bad reviews, they know where to find them, okay? You can literally go into Goodreads and click 1-star reviews and read them, okay? Authors don't need to know that you hate their book. But in my humble opinion, okay? Emphasis on opinion, because people get enraged. To be honest, I don't really care what people do. Like, if you want to hate read something. At the end of the day, if that somehow brings you joy, I'm not going to knock you. But I will play devil's advocate in this case. I do understand that there is a questioning of, if you really like reading, why would you not read things you like? But I don't necessarily think that people who hate read books all of a sudden don't read things they like. I think a big aspect of not just social media, but just life in general is that you could see millions of happy things and one negative thing can really like be pinpointed and given more value than the positive. And I'm pretty sure that comes from the sense of, all these positive reviews sound biased. Like, for instance, one of my favorite books is Losing It by Cora Carmack. And is it the greatest book in the world? No. Do I love it? Yes. Would I recommend it? Yes. And now someone would be like, well, you like the book. Are you going to be critical of a book that you love so much? And if you know me, if you watch my videos, I actually have a series on my channel where I talk about tropes in books that I hate but love the book anyway, or tropes that I love in books I hate. I think that's how I said it. I don't know. The phrasing is weird, but if you go back to my channel, you'll see them. I'll have it in the little eye thing up above if you want to watch it. But I think as a reader, it's important to stay unbiased. But when you wholeheartedly love something, there is kind of a blinder or rose-tinted glasses around books that you love. It's hard to listen to people hate what you love, 100%. But does that automatically mean somebody who hates a book automatically must be 100% reading these books just so they can pull it apart? I don't really believe so. I see a lot of people on Twitter talk about how certain people on booktube have so many negative videos or negative thoughts on books and not too many videos where they are talking about books they love. But in actuality, if someone decides to revolve their booktube around talking about books that they really don't like, that is their prerogative. I guess my question would then be, are you really criticizing that this person is reading books that they hate just to hate them? Or are you criticizing that they hate a book that you love? Because then both things are wrong. Like if you are saying that they're wrong for hating a book just to hate it, but then aren't you wrong for hating their video just because they're dislike your favorite book? It kind of seems like a double-edged sword. It seems like it could be slightly wrong on both sides depending on who you are. I'll be honest, if I see people dislike a book I like, I get a little offended. And okay, maybe not offended. I think that's kind of a stretch. I get a little sting. I'm like, damn, how did you not like that? What was it? Sometimes I read reviews on books I love when they're bad reviews, but I hardly ever like go and attack someone and tell someone, you didn't get the point of the book. You're illiterate. You don't have good reading comprehension. I'm not going to do all that. To be honest, I don't really care. But just because someone may want to hate read a book or hate read many books does not mean that they are just a negative person all around. And I think that's a very big jump that book Twitter likes to take, is that you're not cool just because you hate what everyone else loves. Okay, yes, I agree with that. You're not cool just because you are in the 10% of people who maybe did not watch Game of Thrones. I'm sure it's more than 10% of the population that did not watch Game of Thrones, because I stopped watching season 3. But you know what I mean. Like, I'm not a big Game of Thrones fan, but I'm not on social media talking about how I'm not a big Game of Thrones fan. I'm just not one, and then I move on from it. Like, I'm not going to sit there and shit talk Game of Thrones just because I couldn't get into it. But if someone thinks Game of Thrones is fucking ridiculous, then they have every right to talk about how they think Game of Thrones is freaking ridiculous. There are whole channels on YouTube dedicated to rating really bad freaking movies and just laughing at how bad the movie is. So why then can't there be booktubers whose whole being, or not being, but whole booktube is based on talking about books that they just find freaking ridiculous? For instance, a very popular book on booktube is the Six of Crows series, right? And it's a series, right? I hope it's a series and I just didn't say that like completely ignorant, but I think it's a series. And I saw someone once talk about how there's a YouTuber who does nothing but crap on this book series. Almost in every video, there's like a slug at the book series. And then I go and I see that this person is a big Six of Crows fan. And I'm just like, well, is that not kind of hypocritical? Because you're saying they're being biased towards their hate for this book because they knew they were going to hate this book. But aren't you being biased for loving this book and being offended that someone just may not like it? And again, I'm not saying either one is right or either one is particularly wrong. I'm just asking, is there not hypocritical points to either side of the conversation? Is it not hypocritical to be biased on a positive side or be biased on a negative side? Because they're both biasisms. And if we're saying that being biased on either side of the spectrum is wrong, then you can't really fault someone for doing a negative review versus your positive review. Because something else I see on booktube and book Twitter is the thought that every negative review has to be negative because that person has a vendetta against a certain person. It happened when booktubers become authors, which is a total other topic that I can talk about later if you guys want. And then there was another one with certain book series that come out about how it's so cool to hate something, when I'm just like, okay, is it cool to hate it, or is it really just a bad book? Because if you think about it, people don't argue when people say that 50 Shades of Grey or Twilight are bad books. People don't argue when people say that certain adaptions are terrible, because it's a universal knowledge that certain adaptions and certain book series are just bad, are just badly written, are not that great of books. One of my favorite books is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Go to that Goodreads. They do not have 5 out of 5 stars. You know, like it's there's going to be somebody who dislikes your book, and you can't sit there and say that every negative review is inherently and purposely negative. Because I'll be honest, sometimes when I'm going on to Goodreads, I think to myself, man, I'm about to give this 1 star. I really don't want that beef. And then I won't give it any stars. I won't even rate it, because I'm sitting here like, God, is someone gonna call me out for being obsessively negative? And then there's a part of it vice versa. I'm like, damn, I can't give this 5 stars. Is someone gonna call me out for being obsessively positive about this? Because one thing about me is, and this is I'll say about this, about being super positive, is that I tend to know what I personally like. So that's why I have a lot of 5-star reviews, okay? I do. Because there are a lot of books I really like, and just from the premise, I can say, or I could predict that I will like that book. Now, it doesn't always happen. There are plenty of times where I think I'm going to go into this book and love it, and I'm disappointed. But if you look at my Goodreads, I will say this little disclaimer. I have not sat down and put every book I've read in my lifetime on Goodreads. You'll see of those 45 or 50 books that are on there, if that's how many is on there, I don't really know, to be honest, but however many are on there, a lot of them are above 3 stars. Because I know what I like. I know what I'm getting myself into. Am I going to sit here and say that I don't read books just because I know it's going to be terrible? No. There are plenty of books I'm like, this is probably trash, but I'm in a really trash ass mood. Like, I want to read this book because I know I'm going to hate it. Now, do I then go and like tweet the author, man, can someone take that pen away from you? No, I don't care. Like, write to your heart's content. It's not racist, it's not homophobic, transphobic, it's not any of the phobics. It doesn't offend anybody, then I really don't care. But, and this is a big but, I think it's important as a community to stop penalizing people for disliking books just because you like a book. You can't sit there and say that every person who writes a negative review, even if they wrote like 10 books in a row were negative reviews, maybe those 10 books didn't register with them, okay? Some people are still finding their reading taste. Some people find it, and some people's reading taste is just, let me go pick apart these books. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I have been in a Barnes & Noble with my friend, and we will pick up books and just make fun of the covers. Okay, it's kind of fun, because some covers are just horrible. Not the author's fault. Okay, they don't typically pick their front covers, but sometimes it's just funny. I may pick up a book with like a, I don't know, a scorpion and a half-naked woman and be like, what the heck did I just pick up? You know what I know? I'm just saying. I feel like there is a niche for everybody on YouTube. You know, there is a niche for books on YouTube. Like, who would have thought in the early 2000s that there would be a niche for books on YouTube? Back when all you could find on YouTube were freaking cat videos and videos about boats and shit. Like, you know, like, come on. But anyway, all I'm saying is that there shouldn't be gatekeeping as far as reading is concerned. Reading should be an individual thing, even when you put it on social media. I know there's that whole thing about, oh, you put it on social media, so you're open to it being criticized, which, yeah, to be honest, you're right. If you put it on social media, you are opening yourself up for criticism. But just as much as you're able to criticize somebody, someone is able to respond back to you and not agree with your criticism. It's not a one-way street. You can't criticize somebody and then expect them to have to like shut up and not respond back to you. If they want to respond back to you, they can respond back to you. I don't get too many hate comments. I think I get, very occasionally some hate comments about books. I don't really care, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to change my mind because somebody put "you can't fucking read" as a comment. Like, that's not who I am inside. But it just is what it is. Some people get super offended by me not liking their favorite books. But I'm not that person. I'm not the person who gets super offended. It may sting a little bit. I may be wondering why. And I'll probably go look as to why you say you didn't like it. But I'm not going to write some MLA formatted, Times New Roman, 12-point font, double spaced with a works cited page on why I'm angry that you dislike this book. I don't care. So that's my piece on this. Again, this was kind of just like a dry run on the podcasting and seeing if you guys like it like this and having more talks like this. It's kind of easier for me to do it this way just because my setup these days are not in my dorm anymore. I'm graduating, so it's kind of harder for me to get things situated in order to do this for you guys. So I'm really interested in seeing what you guys think about this, if you made it this far. And if you made it this far, comment a peach emoji. I love the peach emoji, probably because it reminds me of a butt, and I'm an ass man. I am. Anyway, that's enough. I think this Pennsylvania Dutch is getting to me. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, Girl Scouts. That was very gendered, so I'm gonna say peace out, my scouts. There we go. Love y'all. Bye.